tell you only want to see them win because of what you get in return.
Here we at convention.
You gotta want to see them win regardless of what you get in return. You gotta genuinely want to see other people win. This is what I love about the diversity that exists in the LegalShield family. Like, I'm clapping in applauding business solutions just like I would network, and I'm known as a networker. I'm known as a team builder. But how many of my networking friends would love to have one of the folks who sold 23,000 memberships on your team? And how many of my business solutions friends would like to introduce someone who goes out and builds you a team of 1,000 people? You're not going to turn that money back in? So it's great to see the diversity in channels that we have. It's great to see the diversity in ethnicity, in religion. And this is why I applaud everybody. And so, like, I don't apologize for being a Christian, but I'm also not being discouraging for those who may talk about Allah or talk about Buddha. And I just think as a family, what everyone else wants us to war about, we should celebrate each other for the diversity that we have in LegalShield. Like, why be offended by that? Right? Why are we so easily offended by that? And so don't take it personally if someone talks about a belief that you don't have. Celebrate them for believing in something. So we're talking about events. To piggyback off of Kai Gearing and Jason Benji and Marcus Twine, we're doing something special in LegalShield. So I used to do all these tours coming out of the pandemic. It's like, man, I got to get the team going back into in-person events. So I started doing tours over the past few years, traveling across Canada and the United States. And then I said, I'm getting a little tired. And sometimes you got to listen to your body. And so I said, you know what, I'm not going to travel as much, but we're going to do something different. And so I suggested to Mr. Thompson, Mr. Slichting, that we do something a little bit different, and thank God they agreed. And so we're going to do something called super regional events. And so, like, mini conventions. Because how many of you all don't want the new folks you introduce next month to have to wait until April 2026 to experience this? We want to build into that so that we have 10,000 people at a international convention. And then 20,000. But to do that, you've got to set up mini conventions. So I used to have this Doberman pinscher. And his Doberman pinscher's name was Thor. Now, you know, if you ever had a dog for your kid, you tell your kid, hey, look, you're going to have to walk the dog. You're going to be responsible. How many people have ever done that? Their kids all of a sudden forgot what they said they were going to do, and all of a sudden, you know what I mean? Oh, I got to walk him. You said you wanted the daggone dog. So I told my mom, I said, Mom, I'll walk him. I'll do everything. And so Dobermans are very smart dogs. They need to be mentally stimulated and physically stimulated, right? They're big dogs. They're from, you know, their breed has an origin in Germany. They were used in World War II as war dogs. So they're very smart. You've ever had a Doberman pinscher. They're known for their intelligence. And so Thor was so big, he was the pick of the litter, that at 12 years old, he would put his paws on my shoulder, and he was taller than me when I was 12. So it was a big dog. But I didn't do the walking thing I was supposed to do. I just let him outside. Now you can't let a big dog outside. So he didn't stay in the yard, he'd run down the street, and I'm chasing Thor trying to find him. You know how I found him? I watched who was sitting on top of their cars. But seriously, they were like, he went that way. They were on top of the hood, in the roof of their car, hitting up their cars. So my mom says, I'm gonna give him away. If you don't start doing what you're supposed to, I'm giving your dog away. So she had my stepdad, at the time he was her boyfriend, come over to the house. Now, he had raised Dobermans. His Doberman was named Caesar. And so he would take Thor, he had a little choke chain on him, and he taught him how to be the dog he always had the potential to be, but Darnell wasn't teaching him to be. So then I'd walk down the street, or fast forward, I'd walk down the street with Thor, and Thor knew heel. Now the heel position, for those who have trained dogs, means that his shoulder blade never passed my knee. So if I walk this Thor was right on my knee at all times. If I stopped, Thor would automatically sit down without me saying sit. So we walk down the street now, the same neighbors were like, oh my gosh, it's a beautiful dog. Because he didn't feel intimidated because they saw I had control. If I backed up, Thor would back up. If I said stay, I could walk up the street and he would not move. I'd come back and he's still sitting in that exact same position. Even if little dogs went by, he wouldn't move. That's how trained he was. But he always had the potential to be the very dog he had become. The problem is many of us, we don't have enough training to become that. This is a daily thing. So Bob came over and taught me how to train Thor. So he didn't just train Thor, he taught me how to train Thor. And what I'm saying is, you can leave here and do the best you can to train your Thors. But unless you get them to a big event where they can hear Bonnie Roberts' story of overcoming adversity, you can't give that same story the way she did. I can't be a Dave Sean Smith and say, you can start the music now. I said, all hip hop and go in. So we're doing some super regionals. Y'all ready?